I'm very ambitious. I work hard. I'm driven. And so I don't need somebody who can match that financially, but I need somebody who can match that from a drive perspective.
Let's say like just a normal job, like they work in a supermarket. Would you say no?
Oh shit, Jacob, come on. On the app, I would say I would, yes, I would move it along. I'm like turning bright red, so hopefully the HD on all this is like, we can edit that out later. This is Relatable, Relationships Unfiltered. Hey, and welcome back to Relatable, Relationships Unfiltered. We have a really fun episode for you today with dating coach Jacob Lucas. He's TikTok viral with all of his dating advice, and he's here to put me and my dating life on the hot seat. Jacob knows just how difficult relationships can be, and he's here to make them a whole lot more relatable. Jacob Lucas, the dating coach. You are all over TikTok, Instagram, you're all over the place with your dating coach strategies. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. And how are you doing?
I'm doing well, yes. I'm excited to talk today. So you came on another show that I host, and we were able to talk through some dating tips and things like that. But I'm hoping today we will talk through dating strategies, modern dating, the difficulties that are faced. And I was asking you before we started recording, so you're currently in a relationship.
I am. I'm a very lucky man to have a wonderful woman to be with. Yeah, I've been with Anthony now for just over a year. So yeah, all started in a very modern way as well. So this show could definitely help. So yeah, it's more of like a integrated in modern way of dating and how things like organically bloom, shall we say.
Well, what does that mean exactly? Don't hold back. Give us the tea.
So how we met through Instagram, funny enough.
Okay.
So I think Instagram is a very powerful way to meet new people now, isn't it? Like it shows your life, it displays who you are. Whereas a lot of dating apps, like some are fantastic, but you only see a small finite amount of what that person has to offer, don't you? So some pictures, cool bio, great. But Instagram is a constant stream of your life, and I feel like you get to know somebody a lot easier through that. So we met through Instagram. So I actually, she put some stuff up. She followed me first. Liked a couple of my stuff.
Is that important to add in?
Like she
followed me first.
But she liked a couple of my stuff. And then I just looked at the profile. I was like, okay, she looks interesting. She's attractive. So literally started liking a couple of things back. Started going at, and then I just slid into her DMs, if you will. Had a conversation, and it just come from there, really. And then she's actually from America, and I'm from England. So it's a very long distance sort of thing.
Yeah.
Thinking, how's this going to work? So then she come to England, stayed with me, and we were chatting for a little while. And then she come and stay with me, and I was like, it's just perfect. It just clicked. Like, you know, when you meet someone and you think that's the one, 100%, it just clicks. It's effortless. There's no drama. No, I don't think we've ever had an argument. It just flows perfectly. And then I come to New York and the back and forth. So we've got two houses. So it's all right. We've got England and New York. So great.
That's how you're doing it. Okay. I was wondering about that because when we've talked in the past, I didn't know if you were in New York. So you guys, is your career you can do virtually as hers as well?
Kind of, yeah. So she can do remote. She works in the office as well. But I'm fully remote. So okay. I'm literally just I can pick up my bag and go wherever I want to go. So it's really nice. So but New York is good. I prefer it to where I was in England by a mile. There's no city in the world like New York, is there? It's a lot of things. Sure. But it's nice to go back to the countryside every so often as well because you miss that.
So you have the best of both worlds, literally.
Absolutely. Whereabouts are you from?
Where am I from?
Yeah.
From California. So I grew up in California, and then I've been in Arizona for almost 15 years. So,
how have you noticed the difference between California and Arizona dating? Has it been really different for you?
Well, so I did not do a whole lot of dating in California. So I got married when I was 18 years old. So we moved from Southern California, and then my ex-husband's job moved us to Northern California. So we were went back and forth between there, and then his job brought us out to Arizona. So we've been divorced for the last couple of years, but we have a 15-year-old son together. So because of that, we have, a lot of family time and all of that. So I'm not really sure how the dating world differs, but I would imagine that it's probably a lot more entertaining in California.
Yeah, Arizona. It's like it's in the middle of nowhere, effectively, isn't it? I'm sure there's I actually have a client from Arizona, and they say it's very the dating pool is very, very small, very, very small, isn't it? Like
Seems
it's
to be the case.
interesting. Yeah, it's super interesting. I get like people from America's main. I mainly get people from America, but I do get people from different places in the world.
Okay.
But in America, California seems to be very good for it. New York, the East Coast, New York is very, very good for it. But it's a different kind of dynamic. The New York dynamic is a very different dynamic to the rest of America in terms of dating. Whereas I've had people from Arizona, they said there's nothing. It's just barren wasteland.
Well, oh, that's real helpful. Thanks, Jacob. Yeah, not wrong, but Arizona is definitely just a different vibe. It's much more family oriented, and it's just, you know, California and New York have the big cities, and yeah, it's definitely different. Going back to the Instagram thing, though, I think that is a really common approach that people, and probably with your clients, you see that, I would imagine. And I like what you said, because that's really accurate. When we use the dating apps, we have 5 pictures to choose from, maybe a couple really corny prompts. And so you don't really get a feel for that person at all. But when you're watching them through a social media platform, you get a way better idea of like even their personality, what they do from day to day. In a lot of ways, it seems like a more effective approach.
Absolutely. So it's like, I always think how the dating apps, your goal on a dating app is to get off the dating app. That's the goal, to get off it. And you obviously want to get their, I always think, get dating app and then get their Instagram. 9 out of 10 people Instagram this day, right? Or their TikTok. TikTok is great for like videos, but it's not really great for communication with each other, if that makes sense. But Instagram is. But I actually think TikTok's a better app, in my opinion, because it's just more entertaining. It's like the new thing. It's more entertaining. But Instagram is really good for connecting with people, like, you know, in the messages and whatnot. And it's kind of like get off the dating app straight onto there, and then you can see if that person is a weird, like in layman's terms, if that person's a weirdo or not, right? Because on dating app, anyone could be anyone. You could just put, yeah, I'm really nice and really cool, blah blah blah. Put some nice pictures up. But on their Instagram, you then start to see if that person is a good person or a freak, right? Yeah. Then you can start to see like if that person is going to be for you or not. Do they put weird things in their story? Are they entertaining? Like, it's just like, are they active? Are they doing things in their life? So I think it's just like a cheat code, if you will, to just seeing what people are like and seeing if they're good for you. I think as well, because you're obviously from a psychological background, you can tell a lot about someone's personality from their Instagram. A lot. Like, for
sure. I love when people put their Instagram handle like in their dating app, because that's usually like a decision maker right there. Just to see, because even you can be so selective with what pictures you put on the dating app, but then when you go back and look and angles and lighting, and that's all a very powerful thing. So you just get a very different idea of that person.
Yeah, I think without excuse the language, but you can tell if someone's a dickhead or not.
Sure. Well, how do you help your clients to kind of like, what are some things you suggest they look out for when they're looking at somebody's social media app?
You know what? You can tell a narcissist from their social media a mile away. You can tell it a mile away. So let's say you match with a guy on a date now. Pictures look normal, look cool, whatever. And then you go on his thing, and unless he's a model, if he's a model, fine, let him go, it's cool. But if he's putting topless pictures on there all the time, he's really craving the attention. In his stories, he's craving attention. Like, do you think I'm hot? Blah blah blah. Whatever it could be, right? But you can always tell, like, if someone, like, let's say for example, there's a beautiful view. They're at a beautiful view, and they stick the camera in their face and just black out the rest of the view. I'm thinking, why are you doing? I always think like this. Why are you doing that? Why are you not appreciating it? Why are you just obsessed with yourself?
Right.
Again, if you like look at like, let's say for example, if you're a guy looking for a girl, you can tell the kind of girl who just wants your attention, as opposed to stuff. So if you go on a dating app and there's a girl or a guy and they have their Instagram handle in their dating app, that's not a red flag. It's an amber flag, in my opinion.
Okay, right? In what way?
Because a lot of people just go on there to get followers. I know
Oh,
people
sure.
personally, who just go on it, they get followers, click on their profile, and it's just literally just pictures of them, like in very narcissistic kind of poses. Again, if you're a model, that's great, but you can just get the vibe. I'm never wrong with this, and I'm always right. Like, I can tell what you're like from your Instagram. So,
well, I feel that way even what they post on their dating apps. I'm really like put off by men who put topless pictures like on their dating apps, because I'm like, if that's what you're using, that's your main bait to draw somebody in, there's probably not a whole lot else going on. So the first, like, that's a total turnoff for me. I assume you use dating apps prior to your relationship.
yes, yeah, I did. That was an interesting experience, actually, didn't it? You might have the same experience, right? So I had a phone of like, about 400,000 on TikTok. So people knew who I was a little bit in the community, in dating scene. Everyone thought to catfish. I was like, well, I can't win. I was like, this is. I thought
they thought you were.
Yeah, they thought they didn't think it was me, and then I used to get people messaging me going, "Oh, is this actually you?" People like, just like have a conversation, but hang on a minute. I was like, no, no, this is me. And then when I found one of the biggest things was as well, people get really intimidated of the following, and it means nothing. Having a big, yourself, you've got a bigger follow than me on Instagram. It means nothing. It's fantastic people follow you, but it doesn't change who you are as a person. But a lot of people, but a lot of people thought like, I can't believe you're actually talking to me, and it's like,
interesting. Maybe we fall into the narcissistic category then. Maybe people are like put off by us when they get over to our accounts.
Well, it's because a lot of like, big accounts, for example, you do get a lot of narcissistic people who are influenced. They buy their followers. There's a lot of bots in the influencer industry, and they buy their followers to get that big thingy.
Sure.
Like, I can happily say, hand on heart, I've never even bought one, right?
You and me both.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, but a lot of people, they do buy their followers, and they have that, and as soon as someone messages them, they think they're too good for people, and they're not going to message back, so people don't bother. And that's like the general consensus of like someone who is an influencer online, is they're a twat. It is effectively.
It really is.
Yeah, and it's like, it's really not the case. So I found when I was single on dating apps, and they found that out, that was definitely a weird hurdle.
Oh, they were turned off then by when they would find that out. They assumed that you were a douchebag, that you were a narcissist, that you were all these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, a lot of people who are influenced think they're better than other people, and they're really not. It means nothing at all. And then people get chatting to you, and they think, "Oh, okay, you're not like this. It's fantastic." But as well, I found personally with myself on the thing, because I'm a dating coach, and again, you must come across this a lot. People start getting intimidated, and are you using these theories on me? Are you analyzing me? It was like, I'm not, like, at all, just having a conversation. But you must have that all the time yourself, surely.
Oh, absolutely. That's people's favorite. Well, I guess they use it in all different ways, pickup line, but then also it's like showing their insecurity. But that is always like the question of, am I psychoanalyzing them? What am I thinking? What am I? And that gets exhausting for sure. Those pickup lines get really corny really quick.
What pickup lines did you have?
Well, I mean, just in that way, when we're talking specifically to the psychology, it's in that way, like, oh, you must be psychoanalyzing or making jokes like that. Somebody was like, how many times have you got the pickup line of like being a hot doctor or something like that? And I was like, no, bro, just you were the only one that used that. And he was like, you don't put me into that category. I'm like, no, but really. So I think people try to be funny with it, like in an attempt to use that humor, but at the end of the day, it's just as corny.
Do you find like a lot of clients who have like doctorates and they're very like accomplished in like academically or in their job, do you find that being a doctor is a hindrance to your dating life?
Well, I guess it depends what my goal was, quite honestly.
Do you find a lot of men get rephrase that, not hindrance? Do you find a lot of men get intimidated?
I think that they do. And especially, honestly, and when we're thinking about this from like modern dating, I think it's even beyond my credentials, and it's about the success I have with my business. And so I think that creates insecurity for some men for the wrong men, though. And I think that that's how I look at it. If men are going to be insecure about that, that's not the type of man that I would want anyway. But yeah, and I hear that you're saying that what you even do as a living, that created some issues. How did your girlfriend, how did you convince her to look past that, shall we say?
Well, it's interesting because when somebody actually like gets like follows me, so she followed me for a little while, and once somebody follows, they know you're not like that. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Because then it's like a lot of my content is so I'm like, for example, a lot of my stuff is helping people. So I'm not like, I don't, even though the camera's on me, you very rarely see me talk about a video, talk about myself. I just don't like doing it. I just don't like it. I'm not interested. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
My goal is to help people. And when people start seeing that, okay, he's generally trying to help people, has a nice energy about him, then it kind of like give that thing. But if you straight away, when I was dating up when I was single, people don't see that side. They just see, a lot of people just see the number. And it was sad. It was stupid, right? But so I didn't convince her. She thought it was really cool. So she thought it was really cool. She's like, oh, it's amazing, blah, blah, blah. But she's a very, 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 very successful woman in what she does anyway.
So she was not intimidated.
No. So
were you intimidated by her?
No, I love it.
Okay.
I absolutely love it. Like I'm glad I'm with. She's funny enough. We actually did an IQ test, and she beat me by 1 point. I was like, 1 point. I was like, so
what was that like?
Yeah, I actually quite like. You know what? I'd rather be 100 points than 1 point, because 1 point you can lord it over me. 100 points is like, yeah, you win. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So she is smarter than me.
Yeah.
I mean, she's very accomplished, which is great. But so I like that. But a lot of guys, they don't, do they? They don't. And it's like, do you know what? That's why I asked about the doctor thing, because one of the biggest things that I found was a real crying shame. And your clients as well. I don't know if you come across the same thing, but very high value women, successful women, could be sport, academic, job, whatever, right? They always try and downplay themselves. Like I found this massively. So I know women who were like, have a lot of money, for example, and they hide it. Or they're very smart and they dumb themselves down a little bit because they don't want to scare a guy away. I'm like, that's the worst move you can make. That is literally the worst thing you can do. But have you had that yourself with clients? Or?
No, but that's an interesting point, and I guess that really ties into our societal influence of that there's these cultural beliefs of the man being in the more dominant role, and that so a successful woman, that is going to feel often intimidating for a lot of men. And so that would make sense, though. I mean, I could see that from the female perspective in that way of not wanting to scare partners off. But then I guess I agree that it's the worst strategy, because when we think about it from a long-term perspective, like, is that really the partner that they want, who they had to shrink to be with? They had to show up as less in the world in order to get their approval. Yeah. That seems like that would be highly detrimental.
Yeah, it would be, because like a lot of how that relationship's going to play out, they're not going to celebrate your successes. They're always going to want to feel that superiority complex over you, kind of thing. They're always going to have that over you. And I always say to these women, just be patient and the right guy will come along. But I found this my personal experience talking to people, men and women, that there's a lot more pressure on guys' society to be more competitive now, like even more so. You got, like, you see all these videos on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, or YouTube, and it's like, you need to be a six-figure man. You don't at all. I keep seeing this, like it associate, a lot of videos associate high value with money, and it's not the case.
Who do you think is perpetuating those standards? Do you think it is the female population, or do you think it's other men putting it? Okay, what's your thoughts on that?
It's both, but it's not the whole It's not the whole populace, if you will. It's both. So if you go on like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, the videos that get the views are these videos. It's always the fucking idiots, if you use my language. It's always them who are sat around the table and they go, oh, you can't get the guy because you're not a 10 out of 10 and he's a six-figure man. Or we go, I want a six-figure man, blah, 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 and all this. But that's a minority. That's a very small minority. But they're the ones who get the views and get pushed out more. So then it gets ingrained into people. So guys like, I need to be a 6-figure man, or girls won't want me. And it gets really hyper competitive. And it's like, that's one big thing I'm seeing from a lot of guys, is like from clients and stuff. And they go, I don't earn a lot of money. I don't do this. Like, I'm not this, I'm not that. Like, I'm like, it means nothing, mate. It means, you wipe that away. I mean, as long as you support yourself, that's all that matters. Nothing else means anything else. As long as you're not like, you know, sitting on the sofa all day, that's all that matters. And it's like, and have a little bit of ambition about you. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. But that's a massive thing that I'm watching at the minute. It's getting worse as well. Like,
well, I think the dating apps really make that worse. So I really struggle with dating apps because I found myself to be incredibly judgmental on a dating app in a way that I wouldn't probably be, or that I know I wouldn't be in real life. And so that's one of the struggles that I come across a lot. So as you're describing, whether it's the amount of money somebody makes, or their aesthetics, or how they show up, I'm really quick to be like, yeah, no. When it's on the app versus in real life, I'm drawn to people. I'm drawn to conversation. I'm drawn to intellect. I'm drawn to energy, all of those things. And so that's where I'm thinking that the apps have been completely ineffective for me, is because just basing it on a picture, it's not going to really give you the insight of. And so then as you're saying all those things I'm like, nope, not, job, nope, like not tall enough, not this, not that. But then in real life, that's not how I show up. So
that's interesting. I'm dating out there. So does job make a difference? Obviously, looks, they do make a difference to anyone. I don't care what anyone says. Looks do count.
Yes, but I think that the distinction there that people, and I talk with my clients about this all the time when they say I feel shallow, and it's not about that somebody has to be societally whatever. It's that you have to be physically attracted to them. So I think that is the distinction that often gets missed, is that, and I'm attracted to somebody based on, do they pique my interest? Are they funny? Are they clever? Are they brilliantly smart? Like all of these things that like keep me drawn in. You're not going to find that on an app.
Yeah, I kind of agree. What you mean? It's not the kind of people.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you going to be my dating coach here for a second? I think this is a good approach.
Yeah,
all right.
This is so like, when you say you're not going to find it on an app, you mean there's not people like that on the app, or you mean you're not
I'm not going to give them a chance to get there? I have no patience to go sit at multiple dates. I think that dates are the cringiest thing. Look, I would be the worst client ever. I think that first dates are just so uncomfortable. I was telling another guest we had on the show recently that everyone wants to tell me about their trauma on first dates because they, if they know what I do.
Biggest fucking red flag in the world.
I agree. Biggest fucking red flag to me as well. And it is the most obnoxious thing. So I think that that's what starts to happen, is that I'm like, okay, if you're not showing up perfectly here on this app with this profile you created, I'm not giving you a first date because I don't have the time nor energy to do so. And so, no, to your question, I do think there are probably tons of quality people on the apps. I'm incredibly judgmental so that nobody gets past that, so that I don't have to be bothered by a date.
That's interesting. Okay, so let's say
really fucked up. I know.
Let's say looks. I don't judge people for judging people in the way they look. Like, you got to find them attractive. At the end of the day, you want to have sex with them. Fact.
Sure.
There's no point otherwise. But okay, a good job. So would you judge someone on their job? And be honest.
Oh shit, Jacob, come on. I mean. Okay, so here's the thing, though. So let me put my disclaimer on it. I work.
Now I'm getting into it. I like this. Now I'm getting into it.
I work really hard at my career. I'm like turning bright red, so hopefully the HG on all this is like, we can edit that out later. I'm very ambitious. I work hard. I'm driven, and so I don't need somebody who can match that financially, but I need somebody who can match that from a drive perspective.
That's
and
fair.
Somebody who makes their ambition their priority. And so then, is that a more politically correct way to say, yes, I do judge?
Yeah. So let's say, for example, if someone worked, let's say like a normal job, let's say like just a normal job, like they work in a supermarket, would you say no?
Okay, but let's go back to if I met this person in real life.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm getting at. This is what I'm getting at.
Okay, on the
So
app, I would say I would, yes, I would move it along.
why would you say no then?
Because of my own biases, right? I mean, I'm completely aware it's based in my own core beliefs of wondering, okay, if you work at a grocery store, you have to at least be the manager of the grocery store. So at least I know that you have ambition. And again, it's not about their salary. I have to know that they're going to understand my drive, because I think that when we talk about men being intimidated, it is, you are laughing at me right now.
No, I'm not. I got the perfect rebuttal. I just got a
Oh, perfect. It's less about people, I think, being intimidated by my success, but people get annoyed by how often I work. And so I need to know somebody who can understand that. Man, I am on the hot seat with this shit.
No, okay. I like this. Like,
hear your rebuttal.
The thing is, I don't judge you for this. I just think it's interesting. Like, if it is, so let's, for example, I know people who, when they were younger, I had normal jobs. So okay, let's use myself for example. So let's say when I was younger, like a lot younger, I used to work in a supermarket, right? Like, this when I was like 18. I used to work in a supermarket, and I like.
Thanks for putting that disclaimer in case you thought I was like judging you or anything.
No. I don't care anyway. But let's say, yeah, I was 18. But I was very ambitious. 18-year-old, right? Sure. So okay, and then, but that mentality could be in a 30-year-old or 40-year-old or whatever, right? But they might just be down on their luck. Something might have happened to them where they might have had amazing business and then they got swindled, for example, yes. Right? And they lost everything, and they think, crap, I need. This is my step. I need to make. I need to pay the bills, and I'm going to work on something else in my own time, right? And they might be a genius. They might be super smart, super ambitious, and the nicest person you're ever going to meet. But you're swiping past that person before getting to know their story.
On the dating app, but not in real life. So that's throw me a bone here. But yes, on a 100%. Dating app for sure. But to be fair, I would be swiping past like The Rock and, because I would find something to judge. I think that comes back to like my lack of desire to actually go on a date with them. So yeah. What do you see as some of the biggest self-sabotaging behaviors?
That's what I was literally about to say. That sounds like complete self-sabotaging. That's a complete like get out of jail free card. No.
Okay, so in addition to that, what else do you see?
So the biggest self-sabotaging things I see. Let's have a little think. So what would I say? Biggest self-sabotaging thing I see from people doing is a lot of people who've been cheated on, which is really unfortunate. Nobody deserves that, right? Right. They basically project those emotions that they have on their partner who's loyal, hasn't done anything because of what's happened in the past. So basically, they're like, they might be saying, oh, they're cheating in their head. They might like think, I'm going to mess this up to protect myself. But it all comes from how someone's been treated in the past. Like if someone's been disloyal to them, their brain's kind of like, this stuff anyway, but their brain's like trying to get them out of it to protect them straight away. So they might end up kicking off more. They might end up projecting that they're going to cheat on them. The person cheating on them. There's a million different things, but I always find it comes down to how they were treated in their past relationship. Have you found that yourself? Or?
Yeah, for sure. And, digging into childhood a lot and all of that definitely comes up in the self-sabotaging behaviors. And I agree. I see a lot of my clients when things are going too well, right? Because they're anticipating that it won't. And we so commonly hear they're just waiting for that other shoe to drop. And so often I see that people will create opportunities for it to drop because they assume it's going to happen anyway.
I always feel like as well, like a lot of people like the chaos.
Yeah. Yes. Well, because their brains are designed for that. It's been programmed in that way. So they do desire the chaos because of their programming for sure.
Yeah.
How do you... Oh, go ahead.
I say a lot of people a lot of relationships fizzle out because they get boring because a lot of people don't know how to have a fun time, or a high emotional time, should I say, without making it controversial. Instead of getting the good feelings, they embrace the bad because it's something that goes up and down. That makes sense. Yeah. And then people like chaos, like you said, they might have it from their parents in childhood. Sorry, it's my dog walking around. Parents from childhood, and they've always had chaos. And again, like you're right, it might be going too well for them, and they think, I can't do this. This is fuck this up, basically.
Right.
But what were we saying? I do apologize.
Well, so when you talk about that you and your partner haven't had any conflict, if you had a client who was saying that there was no conflict for like a year, what are your thoughts around? So I hear it's because you guys just really vibe, and that for sure is going to contribute to it going well. But what happens if you have a disagreement?
If we disagree, we talk about it. There's always been disagreements, like, you know, but it's not many, but we've had disagreements. But it's a lot. If I had a client said they never argue with their partner, I'd be like, the biggest thing I would ask is, are you submissive to your partner then? Or do you work out properly? Like,
can you elaborate?
Like, so you could be like, let's say, for example, if my partner was super dominating, I was like, yes, cool, yeah, do whatever you want. That's not healthy. That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if I'm like, because there it is. Like, I do whatever I want, whenever I want, and she does whatever she wants, whenever she wants. But it's like, there's a consideration factor as well. Let's say, for example, if I was going to go out and she was at home alone, I'm like, oh, do you want to go out with my friends tonight? She's not going to say no. And vice versa. If she said, can I go out with my friends tonight? I said, don't even ask, just go. You know? Sure. And it's kind of like, there's no ego as well.
Right.
If that makes sense. And no one's submissive to each other as well. So I say it's not. I think it's a great thing. I saw this thing about George Clooney actually the other day, and someone was kicking off about it. He said that his marriage is amazing because it's the easiest thing in his life, and I think it is. If your marriage or your relationship is not the easiest thing in your life, you're in the wrong marriage or relationship, in my opinion.
And what does that look like to you that it makes it easy? Like, in what way? Well, because I think that it's normal for it not necessarily to be easy. And I actually talk with my clients about, I talk on my social media about that. When we continue to perpetuate this belief that relationships should be easy, then I think what we're really doing is we're continuing this culture that ties into this other part of our conversation of, as soon as things aren't going well, you know, self-sabotaging, all of that, we just end it. And I think that that's what starts to happen with people who maybe are experiencing conflict more often because maybe they're going through a transition. There's something going on and there's an increase in conflict. And the thought goes to, okay, well, social media is telling me, all the books everything's saying that if a relationship is not easy, it's not healthy. And that's concerning to me because there's going to be a lot of times when it's not easy. So I guess, what is your definition? How are you defining a relationship being easy?
So I always think that there's always going to be hard things that come across in life anyway. Let's say, for example, someone might lose their job. They might, something might happen to the house or whatever. Some, you know, tricky might happen. But if you start conflicting with each other, let's say, for example, me and my girlfriend, there's stuff in life that pops up, I'm sure. But we never, ever blame each other. We don't go, you're in the wrong, or she goes, you're in the wrong. It's always, how do we work past, how do we solve this problem? You know, nobody raises their voice at each other. Nobody at all. It's like, but it sounds a bit weird as well. You might not think it's healthy, but I do.
I'm not saying it's not healthy, but I think that the difference is you guys probably had those skills coming into it, right? I mean, you as a relationship dating coach, like, you clearly have skills beyond the average person.
Well, I was thinking like this, like with her and me, we both know if we were to disrespect each other, for example, she knows that she started disrespecting me and being nasty, I'm gone. I don't care. And she's gonna be, and she's the same. She knows. I know that if I start messing her about, she's gone. Yeah. And it kind of like puts like that on, like that. It's kind of like keeps you respectful, if that makes sense.
I think that's a great point. Yeah. Because I think whatever the relationship, whatever becomes the norm, is what both partners will engage in. So if the norm is to put each other down or to yell or to be disrespectful, and that starts to slowly happen and becomes adaptive, that, okay, now this is just what we do. Then I think you're right. I think when there's an understanding of neither partner is willing to tolerate that type of behavior, that really forces you to have to make a better, more adaptive decision in the moment.
1,000,000%. It sounds really weird as well, but one of the biggest things that I've learned was from, I read a lot of philosophy, and all these people, they're smarter than all of us, like the Aristotles of the world, the Platos, that they make us look like chimps, basically, right? Anyway, so I read all that stuff, And one of the things that stuck out in Aristotle, which really stuck in my mind, and I always remember it, and I never like let myself get angry, is anger always comes from a place of superiority. Always. It's called Aristotle. So if somebody gets angry at you, it's because they're trying to beat you at something. So let's say me and you have an argument, and then you start beating me. So normal reaction is most people get angry, don't they? Like, oh, fuck you, blah, 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 whatever. Right. That's when the thing comes, because then when you beat someone at something, you're superior to them. So anger is a channel for you to be superior over somebody else. Yep. That's what I read. So I always think every single time in my life when somebody's been angry at me or I've been angry at someone, it's because I feel superior to them or they felt superior to me. I'm trying to impose that superiority onto that person. Yeah. And they're trying to do this. Would you agree with that or not?
I 100% agree. I love how you're putting that. And I talk about that a lot, like in moments of conflict. Do you care more about being connected or being right? Because you can't have both. And so like you're saying, when we get angry, and so it's because we're trying to be right. But as soon as somebody is superior, as soon as somebody is deemed right in that situation, there's a natural disconnect that takes place, because you're no longer allies or on the same playing field. Somebody has just been given a level up, and that means somebody inevitably gave a level down. And that's a divide.
100%. I think intelligence comes into a big factor as well. Mm-hmm. I think you've got to be on the same wavelength. Like, let's say, for example, if you're clearly intelligent, if you were dating an idiot, for example, there's no point, because they're going to do stuff, and then you'll naturally feel that anger bubble up inside of you. So you're like, what are you doing? Like, why? Yeah. I always think as well, intelligence comes in the factor of the short term and long term. I can't remember what the study was. You might remember it, but I can't remember what it was. But they did a test, didn't they, about intelligence linking it to long term and short term needs and success and goals, didn't they? People who have more intelligent.
Oh, the marshmallow. Are you talking about the self-discipline one or what?
I can't remember. I just know the study, but I read it ages ago. But it's people who are more intelligent. They seek the long term benefits. But people who are less intelligent always act on impulse and sought the short-term benefits.
Yeah, the marshmallow test, I mean, is a good example of that. Is, they put the marshmallow in front of the child. If you cannot eat this one, then when I come back, you can have two. And that's, good indicator of that self-discipline makes a big difference. And there has to be a level of intellect in order to have self-discipline, because you have to be able to think about that long-term payoff.
Yeah, it's like when people cheat, there's obviously two reasons, well, a couple of reasons, should I say, but one of them is an intellectual factor of acting on impulse. I feel horny right now, I'm going to have sex, and not think about the consequences down the line. Right. Now, if you're that kind of person, it's never going to work, because that person's a moron. And so, like, what is the point? Obviously, people cheat for different reasons, but that also is one of them that I've come across, is the short-term, the
impulse control.
Yeah, it's like, I just think, like, so back to the main question, effectively, is we don't argue because there's nothing really.
Oh, right, that's what we were talking about.
There we go. That's massive tangent. Yeah, so that's the main thing. We just don't argue because there's a respect factor that is there, really, and it's like, I just think as well, like, we've both been brought up like that as well. Yeah. Like 100%. Like, her parents are quite strict, my parents are quite strict, but it's kind of like that. But yeah, so
was there open communication in your household growing up?
Yeah, so my mum's a very intelligent woman. My mum's actually she has an IQ of a genius, and she's a psychotherapist as well. She's very smart. Whereas my dad is a good businessman, but pretty not switched on with, like, emotions, if you will. But he's very smart in his own regard with different things. And in the household, it was very much so. If I'm good at something, shut up and listen. And if you're good at something, I'll shut up and listen to you. Yeah. I've always had that mentality moving forward. Like, my girlfriend, Antonella, if she's better at me at something, I just shut up and listen. I'm not going to argue about it, and vice versa. So yeah, but that's what I would say about that. Have you found that in your own, like, dating life yourself? Like,
well, I would have to swipe on somebody in order to have a dating life, if you didn't realize the disconnect.
When's the last time you went on a date then?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's been a while. I was dating someone, but not necessarily like a first date off a dating, like from a dating app. That's been a very long time. Somebody who I was dating, we met in person. And so it was that more, the natural, like it's based on the energy and all of those things.
Think all the
So,
stories you're missing out on though, that you could have.
oh, for sure. I mean, yes, I completely agree. But the last time I hung out with somebody and I made it very clear, like, hey, this is not a date. And so I always put that disclaimer on it too. So that might be kind of screwing me up. But anyway, I always like,
Not congruent. It's not congruent with yourself, is it? If you're looking for a relationship, it's not congruent. So it's not going to work.
But am I looking for a relationship? See, that's what I would probably, if I was my therapist, that's probably what I'd be putting back on me. Like, are you actually looking for a relationship? Because
okay, let's put it this. If I had a magic wand and I said you can have the perfect husband right now, you would say no.
I would, the husband words got me cringing, but if you said partner, I would like,
okay.
Yes, because I don't want to be married again. But if you said yes, you could have the perfect partner, everything is perfect. Yeah, you're right. Okay, Jacob, you win.
Yeah, so it's like you're missing out on so many good stories. I think like, life is short as well. Like, just go out there. You might meet some like amazing people. You might have the worst days of all time. I got food poisoning on a date once. That's the worst. Like, I was on the first
Tell me
date.
about that story.
Oh, it's horrific. So, when I did ages ago, and everything's fine. You know, just talking normally. I thought, I didn't feel very. I thought I just need pops of loo a minute. Just for number one, right? I was walking up the stairs. I was there like, I don't feel right. Anyway, and then food poisoning ensued. And I was like, fuck.
How did you handle that?
Yeah, so very weirdly. So anyway, so I come downstairs from, it's like in a pub that's upstairs, the loo. And I was like, I am fucked. I am like, I don't know how to do it. So I thought, I need to get out of this situation. I need to get out of it fast. So she was sat there and I said, oh, really weird. My dad just, I don't know why. My dad just called me. He needs help. It's about 8 o'clock at night. He needs help moving some furniture. She's like, what? And I was there like, yeah, I need to go. So I'm really sorry. He's really old and it's going to hurt him. So I need to get out of here. And she's like, fuck, this is so weird. And I walked off anyway. And at the end of the day, it's a goodbye, blah, blah, blah. And I was driving home. I thought, I can't do that to a poor girl. She thinks that I just absolutely pied her off and just mugged her off effectively. So I called her up halfway home and went, look, I'll be honest with you, I got food poisoning. Like, this is brutal. Like, this is not good. And then she started laughing. She's like, why don't you tell me? I was like, well, would you tell you on the first date? Would you say it? I was there like, anyway, that was in the back. So I went home. And then
took care of your food poisoning.
No, he died. So, and then she wanted to see me again. I was like, okay. So my game must have been really good prior to the food poisoning.
Played that off well. So
yeah, I was like, what? But what's your worst first date? That's interesting.
I've got nothing for you. Like I genuinely have nothing for you. I would say that the topic of conversation is the worst to me. I think that makes it a worse date for me when I'm not intrigued. Like, and that is what so frequently happens. And then, like I was saying, the fucking red flag we were talking about is that everyone talks about their trauma. And so I'm like, I'm not on the clock here, people. But I don't have anything like fun. I know people ask me that all the time. I'm like, I'm not like the fun single person who has like all these stories to share. I mean, obviously after this conversation, I will be, because I'm clearly self-sabotaging.
You need a maverick.
Okay, so someone like to go with me, like a wing woman?
No, maverick. Maverick means like someone really unique, doesn't it? Like a maverick.
Like the partner I'm looking for.
Yeah, like you need someone who's out there, because like you're a doctor, you're good looking lady, you're clearly switched on. A lot of guys can get intimidated of you, and you're gonna get bored a lot. So if a guy starts talking to you about finance, you probably want to kill yourself, right? So it's like, yeah. But if you've got a guy, for example, who talks to you about, I don't know, philosophy or something like interesting or like arty or whatever, so something really different.
Yeah.
I guarantee you'll like that. But those kind of guys, this is why linking it back to the whole job thing on dating apps, you shouldn't judge too quick. because you're not going to meet a maverick if you go for the finance bros, or you go for like maybe like I don't know, what's like a typical like lawyers.
Yeah, what do you think I go for? The what?
Like if you go for like, so it's like a normal job, for example, like, you know, a prestigious job, like a lawyer,
Sure.
Whatever, or this and that, right? Finance guy, whatever. They aren't mavericks. Maybe one in 100 are. But if you get someone who's like, for example, like just any other normal job, that's when you meet the interesting people. Like I can imagine you wouldn't be bored of that. So I know people who are like.
Wait, is this where you like hook me up with somebody? Like,
I
is this
could
how we're
easily
ending
hook
this
you
call?
up. I could easily hook you up. But you would suit that so much more, because I guarantee it. Like you just 100%. I always said to high value women, or high achieving women or whatever, go for a fucking maverick, because at the end of the day, there'll be no competition. They don't give a fuck about competition. They don't care. They don't compete. They think that they're more into like different things, and they always end up treating the women nicer as well.
Okay, Jacob. Well, I appreciate your free coaching today. Nobody knew that was the direction we were going to go, but as you can see, the producer in the chat, she's thrilled by it, and she's wanting you
what's she say?
She's very excited that you're going to find me a maverick to connect with. So
I'm telling you, that's the way to go. 100%. Like.
She's telling us Operation Find Liz a Man. Okay, on that note, we are going to wrap this up. So
it's like Jacob, getting late now, right?
Where can people find you? Social media, website?
Yeah, so Jacob Lucas 101 on TikTok and Instagram, and website is jacoblucasdating.com. So follow me on there. If you want a one-to-one as well, let me know. But yeah, it'd be good. But yeah, thanks for watching, I guess.
So you're saying if people want to work with you, though, they can find you through your website to do that? And then
you can find me through your website, or if you want to just message me on Instagram, I message every single person back on Instagram. So don't feel like you can get lost in your inbox, because I don't do that. Like I will take a part of my day out to actually reply to people. So message me on there, or go for the website or whatever. You must be over 18, of course, to book. But yeah, so have you found today fun talking about this stuff or not, or you felt judged? He's not judged.
No, not at all. I don't feel judged at all. No, and if anything, I encourage people to go find your website, but then also to find your social media, because you give away a lot of great content that you're just putting it on your social media, and lots of really good ideas of things that people really don't think about. And I think that that's, our modern dating world. There's just so many red flags. There's so many things that we often aren't paying attention to. And so I think you provide a lot of great content around that. And I do not feel judged by you whatsoever. So I appreciate your insights on my self-sabotage.
Next time we talk, I want to know that you've been on dates, because you're wasting your time if you're not. Because if you're on this, I'm telling you now, if you're on these dating apps, you want to go on a date, you just haven't met the right one yet.
Okay. You have to, I'm very much somebody of like quantity. So you have to give me like a very clear goal. So let's say if we talk in a month, how many dates do you
Let's say in a month, you get a date within a week, easy. Let's say 4. But if you can, go get a mobile. If you meet someone really good in the first date, on the first one, keep dating him. But I'm saying now, you got a lot to offer, clearly. So it's there, like, and you're on his apps for a reason. You're not doing it because you don't want to be,
Okay.
And I'll tell you one goal for you: don't look at what they do for a living. Don't look at it.
Okay, but am I allowed to look at what they look like?
Yeah.
Shit, you got to give me something here.
Yeah, look what it looked like. Just don't.
Okay. They can be attractive. Just don't worry about their job.
Don't worry about it. Means nothing.
What if they say really stupid shit in their prompts? Am I looking past that as well?
No. Like if it's like like you've got something interesting about them, right? So yeah, just chat. I always say to everyone, just chat to everyone, because you're going to meet some like diamonds that you did not expect. 100%. Like there's always the ones you don't expect that always end up being the best, don't they?
Well, I appreciate the insights. I appreciate the accountability. I will talk to you in a month, and I will have gone on 4 dates at that point. So
yeah, easy.
All right, Jacob. Great talking to you. Talk soon.
Talking to you. Take care.
Thanks again, Jacob, for putting me and my dating life on blast today. And thank you all for tuning into this episode of Relatable, Relationships Unfiltered. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also give us a follow on Instagram at Dr. Elizabeth Fedrick.